Hey guys, it's Jay from Skull Gamer Network. Welcome to another Retro Bowl video, and today's video is very simple. Should you keep your players or trade your players on your roster? It's a question I've seen a lot on Reddit, on Discord, on Twitter, in my YouTube comments, so I thought I would make a video to try to answer that question. Now, to answer this question, there are going to be three main points that I'm visiting. Number one is going to be a player's current overall versus their potential overall and how that affects the quality of draft picks you can get in a trade. Number two will be a player's age, both with regards to when their skills start to decline and with regards to when they're going to retire. And then number three will be salary cap implications, because I know a lot of us are really tied up against the salary cap and can't afford to keep everybody. So I'm going to run through what key points you're going to have to make those decisions. Well, let's start with player overalls, and we're going to look at this very basic New York Jets team. It's honestly a pretty ugly team, but we're going to use it for some examples for the debate of overall versus potential overall and trading in a player. The most valuable thing to know, and I'm going to put a quick chart up on the screen, is trading a player based on their current overall versus their potential overall. So if we look at Al Remmers, he has a 1.5-star current rating and a 3-star potential. You can see his value is currently a third-round pick. But based on his potential, he can get up to a player that would be worth, as we look at our 3-star quarterback, a second-round pick. So the chart is going to show players 1.5 stars and below are worth a third-round pick. Any player between 2 stars and 3.5 stars is worth a second-round pick. And any player 4 stars or higher, like our tight end Pierce, is worth a first-round pick. To answer the question, should you trade a player or not? A player like Remmers, who's worth a third but has the potential to get up to a second-round pick, you should hold on to until you get them up to a second-round value and then trade them for a second-round pick. But if Remmers was a 1.5-star player with a 1.5-star max, I would trade him right away to get a third-round pick, because he's never going to be worth more than a third-round pick. You might as well get your third-round pick now versus later. It's not going to do you as much good later as it would do you now. Again, under 2 stars for both overall and potential, trade him for a third-round pick. Under 2.5-star potential, but up to 3.5-star potential, as soon as I hit that second-round pick value, you can trade them right away unless you plan on developing them. Now let's look at our quarterback Tristan Hawkins. 3-star overall, only 3.5-star potential. I should actually trade him right away. But let's say I got a talent spotter and got his potential up to 4 stars. Once a player hits 4 stars, they're worth a first-round pick, as you can see with Tyler Pierce. So in that case, I would keep Tristan Hawkins. As soon as I got him to a 4-star player, I would then trade him as soon after that as I wanted to get that first-round pick versus a second-round pick. So where he's a 3-star, 3.5 potential, it's all in that second-round pick range. I should just trade him right away. But if his potential is up to 4 stars, I would keep him and then later trade him for a first-round pick. Now, Tyler Pierce, he's a 4-star rating, 5-star potential. If I want to get him to 5 stars and keep him, I absolutely should keep a 5-star player, because you can't get a player better than 5 stars. But if I don't want to keep Tyler Pierce, anytime that I want to trade him, I should trade him pretty much right away and get a first-round pick. One little caveat with this, which is why I haven't traded any of these players yet, and I'll talk about it more with salary cap. If you trade rookie players, I'll pretend to trade one. It's going to give you a warning. It's going to negatively impact your team morale and fan relationships, because the game doesn't want you to trade players you just get. So where they have 2-year deals, if you wait and trade them in their second year, you'll avoid that penalty as well. But that's it for part 1 of the overall versus potential debate. We'll put that table up one more time. Feel free to take a screenshot of that and have it handy for reference if you ever forget. And now for the second part of this exercise, I'm over on my RB NFL save, where I have a much better variety of players age-wise, because we're going to talk about age next. Number one being, when do players start to decline? And the simple answer is they start to decline at age 30. My quarterback, Dustin Virgin, a 33-year-old now, you can see his speed is no longer at its max. He was a 5-star player for me for, I want to say, 7 or 8 seasons, but then the decline started to hit. Now, he has leveled up a little bit since then, so I've boosted his stamina back up to the max. He's still very good as a 4.5-star quarterback, and I like him for legacy stats, but you can see he's starting to decline. We also have 30-year-olds who have Pipkins at our wide receiver and Garner at linebacker. If we look at Pipkins, he is still a 5-star player for now, but honestly, if I look at free agents, I can't afford him. But if I refresh, and I'm actually going to make a live roster move, which is very rare, 4.5-star receiver, 5-star potential Devontae Hoyer, I should actually take Drew Pipkins. I'm going to put him in my Hall of Fame because he's been very good for me. I'm going to trade him for a first-round pick before he starts to decline and pick up the 5-star potential receiver that's only 24 years old. Because as those players start to decline, let's say you have a 4-star player and they decline to 3.5 stars, you just had a player worth a first-round pick drop to only be worth a second-round pick. We had one more player, our linebacker, Garner. He's still a 5-star player, and he's got crazy defensive stats, so he's going to be a legacy player for me too. But that would be another guy that if I wanted to part ways with him, it would make sense. The other thing with age, as players get older and older, is when are they going to retire? For everybody that's not a quarterback or a kicker, 35 is their retirement age. So if you want to get any sort of draft pick back for a retiring player, everybody that's not a quarterback and kicker in their age 35 season, I would trade away, take a pick, and use that pick to get a young player for your future. Quarterbacks and kickers retire at age 40. Now, of course, you can go in, you can have your meeting, right? You can either extend the contract, or when they get towards retirement age, you can tell them to delay retirement. That certainly is an option. We'll look at Adore Sweat, for example, on my Wheel of Retro Bowl series. This isn't going to spoil any of that series, but you can see it says retiring. So if I wanted to trade him, now it's past the trade deadline. At this point, I've recorded a couple videos ahead. I wouldn't get anything after the trade deadline, but I would have been smart to trade him in like week 7, get a 3rd-round pick, and have that for the future. So in terms of the whole age thing, that's it there. Again, remember, at age 30, player skills start to decline. Part 3, we've got the salary cap. Now, if I look at my team, we're back with my RB NFL Vikings. $250 million is the maximum salary cap I'm allowed to have. Right now, I'm using $244 million of that salary cap. Now, any player in their last season under contract is going to be due a contract extension, which typically involves a raise. So let's take a look at things. Starting with Adrian Dean. He's a 22-year-old tight end. He has been very good for me. And at $10 million a year, I'm happy to have a good tight end. But when his contract is up, he's going to want probably $18 to $20 million. That's going to be $8 to $10 million more. I only have 6 in space, and I don't want to spend a lot of money on tight ends, especially when Dax Kumaro is under contract for next season at $11 million. Because I know I'm not going to extend Adrian Dean's contract to next season, I'm probably going to wait a week, but I'm going to trade him before the trade deadline, realizing I'm not planning to re-sign him and pay him more money, so I'll get a draft pick back that I can use to get his replacement. If we look back, who else has an expiring contract? Garner does. So does Kush, and again, I'm not going to use a kicker, so I'll probably trade Larry Kush here. Now, I would like to get him up to 4-star potential, but one thing with the potential that I want to add as a caveat, if it's going to take you longer to level up a player than you can keep them, don't hold on to them endlessly. He's a 2.5-star player. It's going to take a lot of work to get him to 4 stars, and I'm not going to be able to afford to keep him long enough. So in this rare case, even though he could be worth a first-round pick, I am better off trading him, taking my second-round pick, and using that second-round pick to, let's say, get a 3.5-star kicker that can get up to 4 stars, and then use that kicker. So I can skip a level by drafting better than my current situation. So that's a very rare time that I'm going to break my own advice. And again, that's why, because it's going to be harder to level up the player versus taking the pick to get a player closer to reaching that next threshold. And then finally, one of our defensive backs, Rashod Joseph, 29 years old, $24 million in the last year of his deal. Now, where his stats are going to start to decline, I don't think I'm going to re-sign him. So what I can do here is I could trade him, and then I could go to free agents, and I could sign. I think I'm actually going to do this. Let's do it, actually. I'm going to trade Rashod Joseph, and then I'm going to sign Trey McDowell. Now, I did just spend 18 coaching credits, but that first-round pick that I just got for Rashod Joseph. Now, if you go to my coaching credits guide, and if you haven't watched it, be sure to watch it. You'll remember that a first-round pick is worth 3 coaching credits. So, yes, I just spent a bunch of coaching credits on Trey McDowell, but next draft, when I don't need that extra first-round pick and I sell it back to the game, I'll get 3 of the coaching credits I spent on Trey McDowell back in my pocket. So if you're planning to sign a new free agent like I am, because I want this team to be competitive at all times, if you trade away your pending free agents versus letting them walk, you can get 2 or 3 coaching credits back instead of getting nothing back. Again, with the salary cap, those are the big pieces of advice. Trade away your rookies in the second year of their rookie deal if you don't think you're going to give them a second contract. And then anyone with 1 year left. I plan to re-sign the linebacker, so I'm keeping him, but the kicker and tight end that I don't plan to keep, honestly, the kicker I'm going to trade right now. I'm going to take my pick. The tight end, you know what? Why not trade him right now? Yes, he's the one with 1 year left. So there we go. Just recuperated some picks for players I wasn't going to re-sign. And now I have 4 first-rounders and 2 second-rounders. Just by taking players I couldn't afford to re-sign and turning them into draft picks a half season early versus letting them walk in free agency. So I hope this video helped you decide whether or not you should keep or trade your players. Again, keep players you actually want to keep. Don't trade someone just because it's the last year of their deal if you plan to re-sign them. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like. If you're new around here, subscribe for more Retro Bowl videos. In the comments, if you have any other questions, feel free to let me know. Also, let me know what other videos would you like me to make. With all of that being said, that's going to do it for this video, guys. MG from Skull Gaming Network. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. And until next time, and as always, peace out.